Hi, welcome back. As Jade mentioned earlier in the day, my name is Andrew Saltis, coming to you live from Singapore. I lead the data analytics and AI practices for Google Cloud. I'm going to walk you through more of our data strategy, some of the things you may have heard Garrett mention as far as our announcements, but we're going to dig into them in a little bit more detail through this session. And please remember, if you want to ask questions, we're going to have a live Q&A after this where I'll join Jay on the couch. So please put your questions in right down below, and we'll try and get to them during the Q&A. And again, you could ask them at any time during this session. There's others standing by to answer questions also. So let's get started. So at Google, we aim to make the simple things awesome and the complex things possible. And it kind of sounds like a loaded statement, so let's kind of unwrap that a little bit. When you look at these market trends and things that we've heard from you, from other customers, from analysts, these are really the 5 core things that people are looking for. Multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. The world is heading in that direction if it's not already there. As people are adopting cloud, it's often multiple clouds. The notion that everything will be in the cloud, we know that's possibly not reality for a lot of businesses, that there'll always be something on-prem. So how do you have a hybrid multi-cloud approach? Really key to businesses going forward. Looking at things like governance and compliance. There isn't a single business where security is not of paramount concern. So how do we make sure that's always addressed? When you look at things like AI and ML, and how do you have more of augmented analytics? I think you really start to appreciate when you look through and go through our data strategy and our platform of how we integrate the AI all the way across. And as Garrett mentioned about Vertex AI, we'll very slightly touch on that today as it relates to analytics, but as you follow the sessions the next couple of days, you'll learn a lot more about it. And really fascinating of how everything gets tied together. And then data apps and products. The announcement of Looker, of building apps with it. Really tying this whole thing together of how do you have a holistic way of looking at analytics and AI. You know, improving customer experience, it's really a never-ending journey. You're always wanting to get there, right? It's a way forward, not a destination. And one of the things that really differentiates these digital innovators is their ability to use data and software to iterate on this customer experience very, very quickly. What we're aiming to do is to help everybody have that same experience. How do you iterate on the customer experience, on the data experience very quickly? To do that, there's a lot of things that you need from a data platform. But we can't do it without having different cross-industry solutions to really accelerate your path to value. And we'll dig into some of these more as we go on, but you'll see here of various things from anomaly detection to log analytics to time series analysis, and all different ways for you to think about how you could accelerate your time to value. When you step back and look at our data and AI strategy, it's really kind of a high-level view of it. And you'll see here across the top of like these different types of activities you want to do. And it really comes down to, at a high level, of having differentiated products, an integrated platform, as I've alluded to, and then really one Google solutions. But how do we bring the best of Google along with this platform? This kind of shows a nice illustration of what that one Google approach is. And our platform is made all that much more valuable because of the data heritage and ecosystem that we have. So whether it's ads data, trending terms, or guidance on ethical use of AI, we have data and thought leadership that helps companies transform, no matter the vertical that you happen to be in, really leveraging our heritage in this ecosystem. As we step into what does our data and AI platform look like at a higher level, this is that integrated platform. Now, we certainly don't have time during this session to dig into each of those products that you see in their respective categories. But throughout the day today, you'll hear and learn much more about lots of them. And in the activation side in Vertex AI, You'll learn a lot more of that if you stay with us for the following 2 days to really dig into different aspects of that. What I'm going to walk you through is really how do we go from the inside of this to the outside. So I'll start from the collection and the processing side, kind of work through some of the big data, big query aspect of it, then kind of go from outside of this platform, really of how do you have Dataplex on the outside and how do you look across it. So when you look first, and I think Garrett had announced some of these announcements as well, of how do we get data in quickly, right? It's the first step of having a platform and having data is how do you ingest it? So we're really happy to announce about real-time CDC data stream flowing into BigQuery. So now imagine those relational data stores that you have that you want to be able to do change data capture. Here's now a way for you to be able to stream that in from these other sources right into BigQuery, enabling you then to do further processing on it, to leverage some of the AI and ML that's there. So tremendous flexibility in this, tremendous speed, quick time to value of getting up and going quickly with data on platform. You know, by the end of 2024, Gartner estimates that 75% of enterprises will shift from piloting to operationalizing AI. What's surprising though is that this is really driving a 5x increase in streaming data and analytics infrastructure. And if you think about it, you're trying to make AI decisions quicker. In order to do that and to capture all of the activity, it's going to cause a significant increase in streaming. And it's no secret that AI has moved from being a research project and just kind of an idea to really being mainstream and really driving where businesses go today. So when you look at the charts that's there, you see to the left-hand side of where businesses often have been. You have this tremendous pile of data, and you're trying to make sense of it after the fact and after something happened. When the reality is, a lot of the true value that you could harness is early in that recipient receiving data, right? Of how do you take action right away. If you look at the stream of light that's going behind me at the bottom of the display, right? What if you want to detect anomalies in that as it's going, right? So you think about the decisions you want to make really close to the time data arrives. And if you have trouble kind of visualizing that from your business, just think about what your expectations are as a consumer, right? We are impatient as consumers and we live in the time of now, right? And everything you expect things to happen close to real time, and if not, you refresh your browser, you refresh the app, right? You're always wanting to do that. So think about your business of what does it mean if you were able to make decisions in minutes or hours instead of days or weeks. For a lot of businesses, this could be completely transformative and open up new opportunities. Right? And we've been watching this and participating in the streaming aspect for a long time. And if you really look at this and look at our heritage in this space and look at where the struggles are, it comes down to two different pieces that people struggle with. I have a batch way of looking at the world, and I have a streaming way of looking at the world. And our approach is, how do you have a single way of looking at the world, regardless of whether or not that data source is batch or streaming? How do you have a single way of doing that? And of course, as we continue to drive forward, as we continue to fulfill this vision of making the complex things easy, as we try to help you be able to iterate and gain value faster, we're driving with this as well. Right? And with this, announcing that we have Dataflow Prime, right? Which really kind of pushing that envelope further. Not only do you get best-in-class streaming engine with Dataflow, but now you look at some of the things that you get with it from serverless and auto-tuning. You don't have to worry about the operational overhead. Again, you get to use something where you don't have the operational expense involved. You don't have to worry, what does it mean to scale a streaming platform? If you listened to the keynote earlier this morning, you heard Thomas talk about Twitter being on the platform. Think about the speed at which they're dealing with tweets. Think about the ability to not have to worry about the operational aspects of that. tremendous power in being able to say, I don't have to worry about that. I could focus on the business and I could focus on the problem. If you look at smart diagnostics and really how do you manage this? If you look at doing distributed programming, it's really hard. At the end of the day, it's a hard problem. If you look at doing distributed programming with data at high speed, that's also an extremely hard problem. Some people kind of look at it as going, that's magic. Now if you look at the other side and go, well, now if something goes wrong, now you're kind of like debugging magic, right? It's not easy, right? And it's very labor intensive. It takes a tremendous amount of time. So with this, providing those capabilities, providing more of that so you don't have to, all right? Striving towards being able to provide prediction for you so that we could help pinpoint problems for you. Again, helping you to realize value faster. Leverage world-class tooling and get business value out of the platform faster. And the integrated AI and ML. So I mentioned in the next 2 days, you'll hear a lot about Vertex AI. But I'd also talked about how across our platform, it's completely integrated. What may not be apparent in that initial diagram of this integrated platform is the AI bleeds all the way through. So how do you have it all the way across? Not just in that activation column for Vertex, but how do you have it in the stream processing? So all the way through here, now there's ways for you to be able to say, I want to do anomaly detection in the stream of data. And you don't have to go build it. We have the models and have the libraries in place. I want to be able to do time series analysis. That's all there for you. I want to be able to do gap filling of time series. We provide a library to do it. So a lot of state-of-the-art ways of dealing with AI and ML inside the stream. And again, if the world is moving towards 75% of businesses are really going to be driving forward with AI and really operationalizing it, you're going to need to be able to have these capabilities in your streaming system to do it. Right? And that's where we're going. And that's where we are today. And that's where we have customers building solutions on this today. The cornerstone of our AI platform and our analytics platform is BigQuery. And we kind of look at it this way sometimes. So you could call this more of a BigQuery slanted architecture, if you will. That it is that cornerstone and everything kind of connects to it. And everything could communicate with it, from its storage engine to being able to use queries to interacting with it. And we see it being this linchpin, if you will, of the analytics portfolio. Whether that is, I want to run SQL and use other BI tools on top of it, to whether I want to have AI platform integrating with it, to whether I want to do real-time streaming into it. And you saw that with CDC, with data stream. We see it with data flow. We see it with PubSub. To all these things I want to do, I want to use it for a storage engine, right? Providing it of open access to allow what you see here of all these different tools that plug into it. And this includes partners as well, of how do you plug into this and leverage this ecosystem. And there's some really unique things about BigQuery. The serverless nature of it, again, driving towards how do you improve time to value, real-time insights. So we talk about data flow prime, we talk about data stream of CDC going into BigQuery. So you have two different ways, at least, of what was just described, of streaming data into BigQuery. Being able to do that at very high speed and be able to be querying and get insights at the same time. Built-in ML. Again, another case of the AI platform all the way through and integrated with the analytics platform. So you may have seen us talk about this before in other events or seen other documentation that we've had about having the ability inside of SQL to build and use machine learning models. You don't have to create your own. So there's a lot of them that we provide out of the box. So now you could have analysts that understand SQL be able to use machine learning models without being a data scientist. Again, driving towards speeding up time to value, democratizing the access to AI and to business insights, really driving that forward. And insights for everyone, right? That just continues to build on that. How do you then provide it where it's not just I could use SQL and do ML, but how do I connect Google Sheets to it? How then could I have not just analysts that understand SQL in my organization, but I could have anyone in the organization that understands how to use a spreadsheet of Google Sheets to be able to connect back to BigQuery to get data and to use ML. So once you have this, right, if we kind of look above now the core of this platform, the next thing you want to do is how do we manage the whole thing? And this is where Dataplex comes in, of how do you have a central way to have unified security and governance, to have this intelligent data management and an integrated analytics experience. In the past, customers have built kind of bespoke ways of dealing with this. We've been listening to customers for a long time and really now providing a way that we could holistically provide a solution for you. So a fantastic way to start to build on this, where now there's an intelligent data fabric that, again, you can leverage that time to insight. Don't have to build it. Once you're able to manage it, then the next thing that often becomes extremely important to all businesses is how do I share data assets across my enterprise or between my enterprise and my partners or customers. Everyone's looking to share. Some people call it a data product. How do I make these assets available? And customers have been doing this on our platform for the last decade. There are thousands of customers sharing hundreds of petabytes a week. Analytics Hub helps to solidify that, helps provide a uniform experience of how you could do that. Now, as we go outside of that, right, so now you have the platform, you have Dataplex to have this intelligent data fabric, you have Analytics Hub that now you're starting to share, whether it's inside of your organization, between departments, between yourself and partners or customers. But as we talked about at the beginning of how then do we have multi-cloud and hybrid cloud? And these challenges that you see on this slide, they're not new to us, right? And you've probably seen them or experienced them before, of how do you deal with the data silos, with security, the same tooling? How do I deal with this across multiple clouds? We've mentioned before a BigQuery Omni. Really, it's bringing analytics to your data. If you think back to some of the original papers that Google published that led to MapReduce and the entire spawning of the Hadoop industry, that was all about how do I bring code to the data, right? Now we're looking at, it's not really bringing code to the data, if you will, it's how to bring the analytics to the data. So that same thing, you have data in multiple clouds. How do we bring the analytics to it? How do we provide you the power of a single unified platform, a single pane of glass, if you will, to have a consistent analytics experience? This architecture, you've probably seen if you've seen us talk about BigQuery Omni before, and really kind of shows at a high level of, hey, on the one side you got Google Cloud, on the other you have AWS. And then when you kind of play this out, then you see it across these multiple clouds of it's on AWS and Azure. And this is where it's going. And with that, we're really happy to announce of BigQuery Omni being available for Microsoft Azure. So now having a third cloud that you could have the same experience. You manage it just like you do BigQuery on GCP. A completely managed service that we take care of, that you use the tooling. So again, speeding up time to value, eliminating the operational overhead that often you have to bear. How do you make this easier and easier for you to get insights from data wherever that may live? At the end though, we need to have solutions and patterns built on top of this platform to really help you get faster time to value. There's lots of them across all different verticals here. So whether that's financial services and doing real-time anomaly detection, whether that's in manufacturing and doing visual inspection, whether that's in lending and you're looking at document AI and how do I process lending documents faster, in all these different cases, you need to have patterns and solutions to get you there. So again, Andrew Saltis. I lead the data analytics and AI practices. Please ask your questions below. I'm going to be heading off here in a moment to meet with Jay and do a live Q&A. My colleague Abhijit is going to now walk you through what is the data management aspect of this solution and platform. Thank you for your time. Have an amazing day. Please stay with us for the 3 days. And thank you.
Thank you, Anju. Thank you so much for a wonderful insight into Google Cloud's data strategy. Now, let's understand how you can run your operational database effectively with Google Cloud and what is our offering around that. At Google, we thrive to unify data across the full data lifecycle, right from where it is born to the point it is archived for compliance purposes. Data is born in your applications and gets stored into operational databases powered by Google Cloud. How do we give your customers a great experience is by having a state-of-the-art applications. And what's powering your application is the equally capable operational database behind it. And these databases literally help your business to run continuously 24/7. And at Google Cloud, we offer database services that are simple to use so that you can build your applications fast. We are committed to open source and open standards, and that is our key strategy. We offer managed services that are fully compatible with the most popular open source engines such as MySQL, Postgres, and Redis. On top of it, we provide trusted platform for always-on applications with a global reach and with unlimited scale. Now, let's look at some of the customers across the globe which are using Google Cloud databases. These customers cut across the industries which emphasize the message that Google Cloud databases are made for every industry and also irrespective of size or the business model. You can easily spot some APAC customers here which are very popular in the region. Now, as you heard in the keynote, our data technologies are one of the fastest growing segment in the Google Cloud, and let's understand why I'm saying so. So let's look at some numbers. Let's see Spanner. So Spanner is one of our flagship globally distributed relational database, which processes over 1 billion requests per second at peak. Another solution is Bigtable, a cloud native offering which has nearly 10 exabytes of data under its management. And lastly, more than 650,000 GKE pods are securely connected to Cloud SQL. And now let's see what analysts say. In the latest Gartner Magic Quadrant for cloud databases, Google was recognized as a leader. Among the major cloud providers, Google was positioned as the highest in the completeness of the vision. Google continues to move up and to the right relative to its previous evaluations. If we look back for 40 years, databases have been on-premise and largely proprietary. Now, they are rapidly being migrated and modernized in the cloud. And what Gartner predicts is 75% of the databases will be deployed or migrated to a cloud platform by the end of next year, 2021. So we talked about data being at the heart of the business. Now let's look at the data management cloud services available on the Google Cloud today. And this slide gives a complete overview of data management services at Google Cloud, including partner offering and options for migrations. At Google, we have built a cloud database portfolio that offers flexible options for you, not only for your existing application, but as well as for the strategic applications that you are planning to build. Robust integration, security governance, and compliance are the key consideration for all the services offered here. Google Cloud gives you the range of choice for traditional workloads to cloud-native database with an open, trusted, and sustainable platform. So there is an option for you in the Google Cloud, irrespective of where you are in your cloud journey. For your traditional databases, either hosted on-prem or on the cloud, we have option to move a complete managed service like Cloud SQL with our data migration service, which is perfectly suitable for homogeneous migration with serverless experience. This is more of a lift and shift approach where there is a minimum impact to the application as well as database code. For modernize and transform piece, we have a great cloud native databases, one of the best in the world, which with a proven track record and hosting applications that are used by billions of users. These cloud native databases will truly transform your business, and you will be ready to scale and serve global customer base. And that too literally with zero downtime for any maintenance activity. At Google, we recommend to you to take a phase-wise approach irrespective of where you are in your cloud transformation journey. So we recommend you to do the assessment of your database footprint in your organization and choose one of these paths and go for an approach which will be suitable for your organization. So you can choose any of these paths based on your current position, cloud adoption journey. The approach here is to do the assessment and choose the path which makes complete sense to you. So customers are taking full advantage of fully managed databases rather than managing our own VMs. And please note that the timeline here can vary. I mean, these are indicative timelines, and complexity is involved in different phases at a different level. So with that, I will like to hand it back to Andrew and Jay for a live question and answer sessions. Thank you so much for joining the session today. I encourage you to explore more by visiting our Data Cloud website. You can post your live questions on there. And now over to you, Jay and Andrew. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the sessions. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jay Jenkins. I lead tech strategy and evangelism for Google Cloud in Asia Pacific, and we are coming to you live from the lounge in our Google developer space. Andrew, thank you so much for that. And of course, thanks Abhijit for that fantastic presentation as well around data. We did have a lot of questions coming through. First of all, a lot of compliments on your presentation in general. Everybody wants access to the deck, but rest assured that the recording will be available for you to watch. So if you feel that you've missed anything, you can go back and watch that at any time. Now, there were a lot of questions around people's careers and the skills that they need moving forward. And that's from all aspects, from university students all the way to someone with 20 years of experience, but very little experience in cloud. Let's broaden that a little bit and think about organizations and what do they need to do, and what sort of skills should they make sure that their people are building to make sure that those businesses are prepared for the future?
Yeah, and it's a great question, Jay, and thank you. And thank you, everyone, for watching, for submitting questions, and for the warm introduction. When you look at it from either a career standpoint, from someone that's early in their journey to someone that's pretty seasoned, or from an enterprise, it starts with taking those first steps. Right? As you look at it now, the ability of cloud is there, right? The ability of AI is there. It's how do you get started? And I think I'd always kind of switch it as, instead of taking it from the technology standpoint and saying, well, I want to scratch this technology itch of how do I do this, I'd always flip it and look at it from the business side. And even if you are further along in your career, or no matter where you are on that journey, there's undoubtedly a problem that you face that's inconvenient at home, at work, or somewhere in life. So you could kind of pose that as a business problem of how would I solve that using the cloud technologies. From an enterprise, really the same way when we talk about our platform being integrated and providing these services, it comes down to how could you experiment and learn faster? And if the old idiom of years ago when cloud started was two people could build a business in a garage because they didn't need any hardware, it's all cloud. Well, those same type of principles apply probably faster of, I could do that with AI or data engineering. So I'd say for an enterprise, look for what are business opportunities to transform my business or even get started. If you're an individual, I'd look for what are things that I find inconvenient in my current work life? What are things that I could do? Is there something at home? How do I do something with computing today that I'd like to improve? And it would be a matter of getting started and going. Obviously, we have lots of classes to help with that, certification track, everything else. Over the next couple of days, people will learn more about Vertex and ML. And some of this is really easy to get going. So I would say, step away from possibly the fear of it, dip some toes in, and start to get going. It starts small with a problem.
Right. And I think one of the things that you mentioned there is really interesting because it talks about also this mind shift from data being seen as sort of a back office operation to now data is being used in the front office, right? It is that digital contact with customers, and that requires that different mindset where you need to not just have good answers, but have good questions to answer with that data.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think if you're working as a data professional or as a business, it really is about how do you move IT from being a cost center to really being a partner with the business and helping drive business decisions, right? So if you're there looking at it, it's not of who's going to give me a data problem, but it's what questions could I ask about my business that now I have the tooling that makes it much easier for me to ask. And how could I either be empowered myself or empower my business users or customers?
Great. Thank you for that. There were also a couple of questions around security, right? So they're happy to bring all this data together and aggregate it and being able to answer, some of those business questions, provide value. But what about the security side of things? How can we make sure that that data is secure?
It's a great question. And as I had said, that security governance is top of mind for everybody. And I think we take a very strong approach to it, a very security first approach, security in depth and in breadth. Clearly, we don't have enough time to go into all the different security of GCP in this, but if you go and look, it's for us, it starts from the chips and from the hardware all the way up. All right, so you think about just secure from the very foundation all the way up. When it gets to using it from the customer side or from a consumer of Google Cloud, then it's everything of the data is secure in flight. So it's encrypted in flight. It's encrypted at rest. It's not a choice you have to make. It's our default stance of this will be secured. So we provide that so that we know that your data is safe in transit, is safe at rest, and then provide all the tooling necessary for you to make sure that the right users in your organization are given the right permissions to get access to data. Now, clearly, we can't decide for you what that means. There's still a human aspect to say, well, I gave Tom access to data that he shouldn't. We can't prevent that, but we provide the tooling for an organization to say, we want to make sure that only the right people have access to the right data.
Great, thank you. And of course, there are more details around that. So I know there were some very specific questions on controlling data, but again, as you go through these sessions over the next couple of days, you'll learn a lot more about how to keep that data secure. Another question that people have had are just the rapid changes with the products, right? So we've talked about Dataflow Prime, we've talked about Dataplex, we've talked about Vertex AI. There are a lot of changes, and people are wondering sort of how they need to focus, or more importantly, how are things going to change over the next few years, and therefore, what should they be focusing on?
Yeah, it's a great question because you're absolutely right that things have been moving at a very rapid pace, and it's hard to keep up with the announcements and the changes. If you look at where we're going in general and where to focus, I would say the things that you see that are operational burdens today, you could almost count on the fact that we will do our best to try and eliminate those burdens for you. So Dataflow Prime is a great example of saying, how do we remove that overhead and that burden for you? So today, if you're not using that, there's some overhead and burden that you have. The thing that won't change, though, is you could use the Apache Beam SDK and you could write Dataflow jobs that are portable in different languages. That's still going to be there. How you think about the streaming problem is still going to be there, but we're going to make it so that that's what you focus on, not the operational part. So I think if you're looking across our tooling, you're looking across these announcements, just keep in mind of we're driving towards helping you provide faster time to value and reducing operational overhead. The things you think about from Vertex of how do I do ML, how do I do different models, how do I have notebooks, again, we're driving towards how do we make this simpler for you? How do we make it where it's easier for all businesses to use? The core crux of how do I do data engineering, how do I do stream processing, how do I build models, that's not really changing, right? That's just a way of thinking that people are switching to. Our goal is to kind of remove the old burden of people would spend 80% of the time gathering and cleaning data and 20% using. We're driven towards how do we flip that? How do we make it where you're spending 80, 90, 95% of your time using it and a very small amount of the time where you're having to deal with the operational aspect? So I'd say if you're looking at it, try and remove some of the buzz of, oh my gosh, this is new, and think about what's really changing is making it operationally simpler so you could experiment faster, you could adjust as a business and have agility, you could learn faster, and you don't have to worry about the underlying pieces that you used to have to deal with. Right? We no longer build PCs ourselves, we go and buy one. Right? And that's that same type of thing, just continuing that journey.
Great. And of course, I've saved the biggest question for last, which is someone to ask, what is the biggest problem facing Google Cloud right now? But let me narrow that down just a little bit, because obviously, as you've mentioned, we're continuing to focus on those customer problems and continuing to automate things and make things easier. What are some of the problems that our customers are facing, and what do we want to make easier for them?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say that probably some of the largest questions and problems that we see customers running into is, as there's this continued shift towards cloud, how do I transform my business? How do I know what to do first? And how do I get started in that? And there's a lot of customers and a lot of businesses that they're still trying to move from that legacy infrastructure of what do I choose first? How do I get going? So I think that's a problem that we see often. For us as an organization, we're again driving towards how do we help businesses do that? How do we help them take those transformational leaps? Yeah, and that's probably the biggest problem that we see. And I think in this last year with the pandemic, we've seen a lot of businesses adapt to that. But we saw a lot of businesses that didn't have infrastructure to allow remote workers. So if you even just look at that, how do we help people think through those things? How do we help people make those leaps? And I'd say we're growing as well of how do we make sure we're helping customers attack those right problems.
Fantastic. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us today live in our developer space. I hope all of you have a paper, a pen, and pencil ready, because coming up next is Rewire Our Brain Through Doodling. So it'll be a fantastic session, and after that, of course, we then have our more serious sessions. We do have those 2 tracks, so please pay attention. Thank you very much. Enjoy your sessions for the day.